Indies. Happy Saturday. I hope everyone is doing super great. As always, please let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. But do I look tired? I'm tired. How has everyone's week been? Have you been getting things done? I hope so. I have been getting some things done and I've been not getting other things done, which is, the challenge of every musician who's trying to do all the things. So, Greg is here. Howdy. How you doing, buddy? So, yes, episode 5. And we started an hour later today. I apologize for that change. The goal is to be at 1 p.m. Central every Saturday, but sometimes schedule conflicts, right? So, but I'm here. I made it, and you're here. You made it. So we win. So this past week has been interesting. So if you guys remember, a week and a day ago, I had the first single came out, right? And so I was like messing around with a lot of different tools for pre-saves and did some advertising. Right now I'm advertising a pre-save for the orchestral version of that song. The remix just came out and the orchestral version will be coming out a week from yesterday. So 2 weeks apart. And it's funny because I feel like the single's been out for a week. It's over now. So, but that's obviously not the case. But it is funny how like you work up to this release, and then you're like, okay, the release is done. I'm done. I'm not done. Hey, Lucas. Hey, Jeffrey. Hey, Erica. Akiani. So, so it was a good week. I experimented with a lot of stuff, just like I promised you guys. And I'll just kind of like go through some summations. So I was working with a couple of different distributors, and my plan had been to attempt to release these singles, on different distributors and kind of test out their settings. And one thing I discovered is that every single distributor I tried to use besides AWOL, which is, it's a distributor, it's a commission-based distributor actually, which is usually not the way that I go for things. But when I was in London for that UK tour I did. Hi, Ashley. So yeah, when I went and did that tour in the UK, I also stopped by Cobalt Music, who, they're kind of like self-service distributor is AWOL. And Cobalt is great. They represent some amazing artists, including like Childish Gambino, and look them up. They're great. And they're more like a management company, management marketing. So they're not a label per se. They do distribution though. And AWOL is it's closed. Like you technically have to like apply for it, but there's tons of people on AWOL. So that was kind of what I was planning on my initial release, because they don't charge for releases at all. And they have really great analytics, and they have a good playlisting network. So I had released the 2 singles last year, one of them called Charlatan, which was like just the regular version, and which featured Nino Bless, right, former indie. And then I had Bad One, also known as Ignacio, our Indepreneur production concierge. He did a remix of that song. And so I used AWOL for the very first one, and then I used TuneCore for the second one. And TuneCore is like my OG. Like I've been distributing through TuneCore forever. Like every single release I have is on TuneCore. And I know people are like, it's expensive, but I also don't like paying commission, kind of just on principle, not even because it's like, oh, it's, $5 whole. So, so it's definitely, it's been an interesting thing, kind of going through these other distributors now. And, Erica, my stuff is maxed out. OBS is telling me it'll clip if I turn up anymore. So I'm sorry, I cannot. If I turn up, I'll probably start distorting. I'll try a smidgen bit on my side and you try a smidgen on yours. So yeah. Hey Isaac, what's up, man? So glad that you're here. Yeah, you're new to the family. Love seeing you. So thanks for hanging out. So yeah, I was trying these different distributors, and one thing that I noticed is that I was coming into a big problem with tagging my remixer. So obviously, and you've probably seen this several times, but a lot of times when there is a remix artist, they'll be tagged on Spotify. And that is obviously better because not only does it show on your profile, but it also shows on theirs. And a lot of these distributors would not allow me to put the remixer in, first off, not as a featured artist. Because they're like, featured artist means that they like performed, right? There's some kind of performance, like if it's a vocal or if it's an instrument, that kind of thing. And so they're like, so that it doesn't qualify as a featured artist. And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, well, what about like a support artist or whatever? And they were like, nope, you can put them as the remixer and that's it. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. And so I didn't really know what that was going to look like. But when the single came out last week, sure enough, it had Bad One as the artist along with me. So I was happy with that. And the title of the song is Find Your Way, parentheses, Bad One Remix. So when I went to go to these other distributors, they were like, well, if you put that person as the remixer, you can't have it in the title. And I was like, wait, what? And apparently it's a thing with iTunes. And so if you're using a distributor that only distributes to Spotify, you're not going to come across that problem. And if you're working with a distributor who has more intelligent mapping, that is specifically for this situation, which AWAL does, then you'll be fine. But otherwise, so TuneCore kept kicking back stuff, and then I was working in a couple other distributors that did the same thing. They were like, well, you can't have it in the title and have them listed as a remixer. And I was like, well, that is super silly because that is the version it is. Which is why I think if you go on Spotify, there are some people who will call, like, you know, a remix like the underground remix or something like that, like not associated with the artist, the remixer's name. And that's because there are certain limitations by certain distributors, and apparently it's not all the same. So that was a fun adventure. So I ended up going back to AWOW and just doing everything, pretty much everything there. I'm still planning on releasing all of these singles individually as their own thing. And then when I put out the full album in January 2021, I'm going to use the already generated ISRC codes and upload the album itself to TuneCore and it'll replace the stuff that's online. So basically I'll send it to TuneCore, and then I'll initiate a takedown from AWOW, and then it'll be transferred over to TuneCore, which I think, I wanted to do that because then I don't have to pay commission on it forever. But all the singles are rolling out the way they should. And, then when the album is full, I'm just paying yearly for it instead of paying commission on it. So, but I did a lot of research, and I just, there are some of these distributors, they don't really tell, like even AWOL didn't tell me actually. And I was really bummed out when I thought that I wasn't going to be able to tag my remix artists, because that was kind of a strategy thing, But once it went live, I was like, okay, that worked. So then I reached out to their support, as well as reached out to support of a few of these other distributors, and try to get clarification on that. And it's most of the problem is if you're using a distributor who is also sending to Apple Music, because Apple is the one with they're very preferential about how they want these things to be displayed. So, and when I look at the release, in fact, I'm going to open it really quick. Let me pull that up. I have I took a lesson from Circa, and I have like 5 screens. So sometimes I'm like looking around the mic. All right, let's see. Oh, and I'll share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So this is the profile on like Apple Music. And so if I click on this, you can see that Bad One Remix is in the title, but he's not anywhere in here. He's not listed as an artist. And so what AWOL did is they separated that for me, right? But then if I go on Spotify, zoop. If I go on Spotify, you can see if we go to this album, there's Bad One. So, and I don't really see, I mean, you guys can let me know what you think. I don't see a reason why having another artist on any other channel would be as advantageous. Because obviously it's not the same kind of like discovery platform. It's not really formatted that way. So, but anyway, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is that I ended up deciding that I'm going to go with AWOL. So that's that. Hey, Quinn, what's up? Thanks for showing up. So anyway, so yeah, that was kind of the distribution experience. I did do some testing with some pre-save tools. I used Push FM for one thing, or for one like campaign. It did not work well. I was not able to track it. I wasn't able to edit as much of the landing page as I wanted. And it didn't really tell me anything about what was happening. It told me how many people were on it and how many people saved it. But like multiple fans messaged me that they had saved it and there was no other place to save it. So, you know, Push FM was telling me that like 3 people saved it, but I got like 12 messages of people like with the screenshot, like showing that they saved it. So I don't trust that tool anymore. I am now testing ToneDen, which, you know, like I said last week, like just to be transparent, they gave us a comp account. So we're not paying that $50 a month because we're testing for Indepreneur. So let me log into that real quick. Okay. And I'm not going to show you guys all the tests that I've done yet because I'm still waiting for it to flesh out a little bit. So these are just some random links that I put up. I didn't run a whole lot of traffic to this, but essentially like, you know, this one is out, right? And if we go to that, and this has been really weird as well. If we go to that actual landing page, you can see like they just you can set the backdrop for this, right? And you can, like this is just the cover, obviously, like in the background, huge and blurred. But you don't have to do that. You can put a custom background on it if you want. I didn't care to because I'm not running much to this. But obviously like it'll link up all your shields. They do have this like email opt-in at the bottom, but you can't edit it. Like you can't, we tell indies all the time, like say something cool about your mailing list so that, you know, they like know why they're signing up. Whereas like sign up for updates like is so lame. So you can't edit that. You can't change the verbiage on that, which I was like, not a fan. You can obviously put all of your links down here if you want, or you can leave them off. So, you know, I mean, it's a fine enough tool for people to choose like where they want to go. But I also feel like, I don't know, they'll probably just go where they want to go. I mean, okay, so let me go into the group real quick because I know that somebody has talked about this recently. Oops, yeah, it's a group, Corrin. Good typing. Okay. So it was either this or in the regular indies group. So I'm just going to kind of. Oh, and by the way, if you have not seen this, if you did not get the email, Spotify for Artists did let everyone know that they're shutting down a lot of cruddy profiles. And, taking those followers off. From what they said, it's not going to impact your stream count. It's just going to impact how many people are following you if you have a bunch of fake or bot followers. So they'll be doing that over the next few days. I think they said the first couple of days of this coming week. All right. So it was pretty recent, but I don't see it. So let me just search real quick. And if it's not here, it might just be in the regular indies group. Okay, so this is, and some of you may already be tracking this, but when I go to that fan link page that I created, I have Spotify on my phone. I'm a paid member, whatever. And this is what pops up if I click through, if I click through on an ad. So if I like test an IG story ad or send an ad notification to myself to verify the ads that I had, tested on this page, I'll click the Spotify button and then it'll bring me to this. And it's very confusing to the user. And what's funny is that even as I was testing it, I was like, oh, I don't need to download the app. I already have it. And so then I, X'd out of this. And it even says here, please press the button to proceed to your app. But the fact that it says download app, I'm like more attentive and was testing my own ad. And I still thought, oh, this is wrong, and closed out of it. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. And that'll happen if you have this in the settings. You can basically say like, okay, this is a pre-save and I want, people who have already been, who have been through another toned in link somewhere at some point, for it to remember their service. So if they clicked through to Spotify once, it'll just auto forward straight to Spotify. Which again, that's something that we're not allowed to do in Ads Manager, but because Toned In has a very specific relationship with Facebook, they're allowed to do it. However, if you check automatically do that, it pops up with this thing. And if you click Spotify on the page, it does not. If you turn that off. Well, it didn't for me. So anyway, you guys know, if you've listened to the podcast or if you've listened to me at all, over wherever I've been talking over the last couple of years, like I do not really care about this. But I wanted to give it a fair shot because I know a lot of musicians do. But this is not impressive to me. So anyway, it didn't really do anything magnificent. Like, does it look decent? And are there all these links? Yeah, absolutely. You can see that, like, if I go up here, it's got Toned In's pixel on it, but it also has my pixel on it, which is great. So at least I can like go for landing page views when I'm doing conversions, if I'm running ads to it. So like that's good. But if you click this button, you can see here that it doesn't, well, this is Spotify's pixel, but it doesn't send a like specified click over to your Facebook pixel automatically. So what you would have to do is set up the custom conversion or set up the standard event yourself by going through and clicking all that stuff. Exciting stuff, right, guys? So I was just, is this pretty? It's fine. But like if you go to my site, and right now I just have kind of a really boilerplate setup. I just have buttons for people to click to save, and then I can track them using conversions on my own site. And that seems good enough. I did go ahead and make this More Music Here button. This is also a toned in landing page. And this is just like going to my artist profile on these different platforms. So I'm going to see, I have a heat map installed on my site. I'm going to see if anyone even cares about it, or if it's helpful. But typically that's not what I would normally be doing for a music page. I'm just experimenting. So anyway, so that's the haps with that. As far as other things in ToneDen, I'm still testing a lot. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on that. I will show you also though the pre-save campaign, and like again, does it look fine and everything? Like, yeah, absolutely. There it is. There's a little countdown. That's fun. So it's like, okay, like it does what it's supposed to do. And I'm pretty sure that this is a feature that you can have even with a free account. So you don't have to, pay $50 a month or whatever it is for ToneDen. I've also been looking at some of their advertising things. And like I said, I'm not going to dig too deep into that right now, but until I have more of a chance to flesh it out. But I ran a test and I was like, so I'll be sure to report back. I think it's one of those things where, and I kind of think this about every easy button I've seen, because, I know Show.co has it, or maybe it's CD Baby. There are multiple distributors and multiple services that offer kind of an easy button, even like in a non-music sense, right? You've got like Ad Hoc, or you've got Ad Espresso, or all of these other little tools that are like, oh yeah, we'll automatically like run these ads for you. And typically if you understand Business Manager, like it's not doing anything that you can't do yourself. So paying extra for that is just really unnecessary. And generally, you can't tweak the campaigns the way that you would want to. So at this point, there's no third-party advertising easy button that I can recommend to you, at least not for Facebook and IG. It could be advantageous. Google Ads is much more complicated to set up, and it's more difficult to navigate. I am going to be doing a training on that later this year for YouTube and Google Ads, but, there are some plugins that are helpful for Google specifically. But I would say, like, just get in Business Manager and do your stuff in there, because I just haven't found something that I'm like, this is tight. So, yeah, Erica, you can totally ask me a question about Greenlight Warmth. That's totally fine. So anyway, yeah, so I know that's kind of mild. The other stuff that I worked on this week, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Indepreneur site was down off and on over the last couple of weeks, and so there were some things that I got snagged in there, and that definitely impacts things. But I did get I know what I can show you guys. Let me open this back up. I want to get into my site and show you guys this stuff, because I get questions all the time about different commerce providers, especially now that the ClickFunnels Share Funnel is no longer available. And I mean, I am not a ClickFunnels fan. Circ loves ClickFunnels. I don't like Circ. I don't like Circ. I do like Circ. I don't like ClickFunnels. So there's been a couple of things that I've experimented with over time as far as commerce is concerned. And I mean, ClickFunnels was just too busted for me. Like, it's not that it doesn't do what, it says it's supposed to do. But it's just like, to set up variants for products is ridiculous, and to handle international shipping is ridiculous. I'm just like, no. I'm not a fan of ClickFunnels. So I have worked with a lot of different things, including Shopify buy buttons, which is a really, guys, like if you are, say your site is on Wix, or say your site's on Bandzoogle, and you're like, man, the store doesn't do all the things I need it to do, then get a Shopify Lite plan, which is $9, and just build your pages and put little buy buttons on there. It's literally so easy. It's super great. Let me actually, I want to show you Jesse's basic printer, because we just worked on it, but he's probably got some things in there he doesn't want everybody and their mother to see. So let me see if I can pull up an example for you guys real quick. Also, just so you guys know, OBS has been being a punk for me the past couple of times I went live. So if for some reason it shuts off, I'll be right back. But OBS has been crashing on me like a mug, and I'm not sure why. Okay. All right, so I'm going to open up this dummy store. All right. So if you have a Shopify store currently, and you're paying $29 a month, but you really are not using the store, you can downgrade to Shopify Lite. I think it's literally shopify.com/lite, LITE. Yep, sure is. And so what this does is it basically puts all of the same stuff on your site. You just don't have a storefront on Shopify. And I think that this is really great because it means that you can just put pictures and, lay everything out on your site the way you want, and then put a button. And what it does is it opens up a sidebar, like a cart. And so I'll give you an example of what that looks like. But this is $9 a month. And if you already have your website somewhere else, it's really all you need. So like if I want to create a buy button, there's a couple of options here. You could create just a product, or you could do a collection. Now, a collection is, let me show you an example of that. Like Jaws site, when we built this, like this is just an embedded collection from Shopify. Like it looks good, and he currently has it set to view details, but if you click add to cart, it doesn't take them away to a storefront. Like you don't need the Shopify storefront. It literally adds it to the cart here. And like, that's great. That's great. And if you have your pixel, it's not visibly firing here, but it actually does. It's because I am an admin on this page and my browser knows that. So, but this will fire, like what I just did will fire add to cart. And if I go to checkout, it pops up like this. And what's great about this is that if people are on mobile, this adjusts perfectly to their mobile window. And it's the easiest freaking thing to check out because they can press either here or, fill out their info. But it's so mobile friendly. It's, and so you don't even need that storefront. You know what I'm saying? And I would choose this over Squarespace ecom all day. Because so think about this, right? If you have a site and you're not using a buy button, or you're not using a collection spread like we have here, like you could literally just put an image of your shirt and put a title under it and then put a button, and it'll do exactly what you're seeing it do now. The other thing that's cool is that look over here. Oh, look, I got a little tab for a cart and a 1 in it. And so it's like, if I want to open this one, right? And I can, check out the details of that. That's out of stock. So I'm not going to buy that. Bad example. Okay. So this is out of stock too. Wow. Everything's out of stock. They should change this collection. Okay. So, but in any case, you know what I'm saying? And then when you add another product, it opens up and puts it in here as well. So it's like a cart. It's perfect. So yes, Quinn, this is his website. He also has a Shopify store. And I don't know details about his traffic, but I'm assuming, he just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I'm sure that he has traffic both at his store and on his site. So there's reasons for him to have two places, right? Just sheer bandwidth. But, you don't have to have that storefront. And you can use this on Wix. You can use this on Bandzoogle, on Squarespace, you could use it on anything. So if you aren't someone who's building out like this big WordPress site with WooCommerce or WooFunnels and, doing all that stuff, and if you're like, I only have like 1 or 2 products and I don't need to be so extra about it, just do this for $9 a month. I highly recommend it. And you can style all of it. So I'll kind of show you guys. Again, you can do a collection, which is what this is an example of, or you can do just a product buy button. And so let's say I want to make one for the greatest hits, which I'm not using this currently because I'm doing a volume where I don't want to be doing that. But so you can, select a couple of different things about this. So like you can do a full view where, and this is really great if you have like multiple variants. You have a picture and then the tiles down here will be all the pictures of the different variants. They can select which one. And there's actually text here, but it's currently white because on my site it would be white. So it kind of remembers your template. But so if I say I wanted to put this on my site, right, you can, obviously just put it for the limited edition or just put it for standard or all variants, right? You've got the full view. There's a classic view, which is like a smaller one. And that's very similar to what we're seeing here, right? And it's got the title there. Again, that's in white. But and then there's the basic version, which is literally just like select the variant and quantity add to cart. So if you don't even have variants, like say you only have one version, you just set that and all it is just an add to cart button. That's literally it. And you can design everything else around it on your site the way you want to. Know what I'm saying? It's tight. So, and then you can, have people do certain things. So if you want them to add the product to the cart and then you get this little tabby, that's great. Or you can have it go direct to checkout. So you click buy now and it opens up. Well, when it's done thinking, it just opens the checkout. There's no cart, there's no confirmation. It's just right to the cart. This is pretty damn direct. You know what I mean? Like, is it another window? Yeah. Do we care that much about it? Like enough to pay $97 instead of $9 a month? No, not me. I mean, do you? You do you, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, and so you can see what it looks like on mobile, widescreen, all of that stuff. You can center it left, right, change the button text. You can change all of the design styles. The fonts are not like a super wide spread, so you'll want to find something that is close to, it's just the, the standard Shopify spread. You could probably mess around with, if you know code, you could probably mess around and get in there and go crazy. But in any case, and it saved this from the last time I built one. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys because I feel I just had professional development. Like I told you guys before, like I spend an hour with Jesse and an hour with Gracie every week. It's part of their employee benefits package. They get an hour of professional development with me every week. And I was working with Jesse on his stuff last night. And, he was like, well, what's the deal with these buy buttons and whatever? And I was like, here, let me show you. And he was like, whoa, this is so different. I've actually converted him away from ClickFunnels, which I never thought would happen because the boy's been on ClickFunnels for 3 years. I mean, I wasn't pressuring him. I was like, if you want to be on ClickFunnels, be on ClickFunnels, but it sucks. And I was able to convince him that I was like, you can do all the same things on your own site using these tools. Trust me. And so we have. I'm going to check on the comments real quick because I've been talking for so long. All right. Eric, I'm going to get to your question real quick. Don, the name of this particular tool that I'm talking about is Shopify, but it's the Shopify Lite plan. So if you go to shopify.com/LITE, that's where that is. If you're talking about the comedian site I was just on, that is Big Jaw. And if you Google him on YouTube, he just hit 1 million subscribers and he's killing it right now. Super proud of him. Great guy. So anyway, that's the deal with that. Leanna says, I'm a lurker, LOL. Been watching for a few weeks, never said hi, but your content is just too good to keep lurking. Just want to say thank you so much for the intel and sharing. Thank you, Leanna. I was really nervous if people would even want to do this on a Saturday, but we can't go anywhere. So I gotcha. You're trapped. So anyway, so yeah, now let me hit Erica's question. Okay, so I tried creating a CSV file for my MailChimp list, but I encountered a problem uploading that list to custom audience, I could see the file but could not upload. I'm not sure. I mean, chances are it's a bug. I know I say this like every time we talk about it, but like Ads Manager just will flag or not work randomly for no reason sometimes. And like there's been times when I uploaded something and I like it wouldn't go, and then 24 hours later it was fine. Like it never happened. It's like a bad like relationship fight where you guys just don't talk about your problems and you just pretend it never happened. That's Facebook. Me and Facebook have that kind of relationship. So anyway, yeah, I'm sorry I can't give you more insight. I mean, you'll want to make sure that you have headers on the top and that you're mapping your data. It may say like, hey, we could not import this because we don't know these different data points. And so you may have to assign different columns to the correct information. You use Excel. Okay, so make sure that it's still a CSV file, because I've actually seen that happen a lot where you get a CSV and you open it and then Excel will change the format to an Excel spreadsheet and Google will not upload that. So just make sure that you're saving as a CSV if you make any updates in it. Because yeah, that is a thing that I have done many times. It's like, why isn't it working? Oh, it's not a CSV. My bad. So anyway, yeah. So now Salt of Fear says, what are we talking about? All the things, everything we were talking about. We did a little troubleshooting for Erica. Hopefully I've helped her about custom audiences. But before that, I was talking about Shopify buttons and how you don't need a storefront if you know how to design your site well. And yeah, which is why, oh, actually guys, so you're aware, I'm going to say this out in the ether so that people are aware of it so that it will happen. Circa and I have scheduled a debate on May 5th, right? We plan it way far out. We're planning a debate. We're going to go live and we're going to debate like Squarespace and WordPress specifically, because he's always shitting on Squarespace and Squarespace is my jam and it's fighting words for me. I'm like, Duke's up. Let's do this, because Squarespace does all the things and WordPress is WordPress more robust? Absolutely. Is WordPress needed for 99.9% of indies? Absolutely not. That's my opinion. I'm just going to put it out there. So Cirque and I are going to fight on May 5th and we'll make sure that you can see it because it's going to be fun. I mean, it's obviously, it's all in good fun, right? But it's funny because a lot of people don't realize that Cirque and I are not the same. And even though we think very similarly, we have very different opinions about multiple tools and strategies. And so I'm going to have a fun time with it because I think he thinks he's got me. And I'm like, nah, I'll show you. So anyway, okay, moving on. Yeah, so again, let me go in here. So I told you guys last week that I bought a license for Thrivecart. And I haven't done much with it yet, but I still want to show you nonetheless, like what it looks like. Because here's the thing. If, oh my gosh, like it's so great. It's so flames. I've talked about it on like 2 podcasts now. And I mean, on so many things. So I just did a test on this. I haven't put this live yet, but I love this. And okay, so here's the thing. It's not that fancy, right? It's not like Shopify. The checkout experience is not like crazy, but it is a checkout experience that's like ClickFunnels, because you can add upsells, you can add downsells, you can do A/B testing, you can set coupons, right? And in the product itself, right, there's like pricing, but you can also do a bump, which is tight. A 1-click bump, just like ClickFunnels. That's different from an upsell. It's a bump. So in theory, I don't know. And then there's also affiliates in here if you get like the pro version or whatever. I'm stoked on this. So basically the checkout process is just super easy. Setting up products is really easy. The thing that I'm really excited about, and I think I may have shared this with you guys last week. So if I did, be like, yo, we already shared that. But with Gilded Limited Edition, I literally, I'm not doing false scarcity. I literally only have like 21 copies of it left, which is cool because I made a lot of them. And to be almost running out is kind of like, whoa. But I'm doing a free plus shipping and handling funnel, or I just like kind of kicked it back on. I have my, the Gilded experience, which is, it was basically like an album launch type thing. It was 5 days and people gave me their email and I gave them background and then I made them an offer for Gilded for the album. And it went really well. And I've turned it on and off throughout the last 2.5 years, 3 years, because I'm like, yeah, I'll just see how it does. And it does great every time I turn it on. So I just got it turned back on. I want to say like 2 days ago. I started the whole process, which is why I built this. But Thrivecart lets you do pay what you want. So they could pay $0, and you can set a range too. If you're like, okay, you can, pay me at least $4 and up to whatever. But I literally just set it for pay what you want. And I like the psychology of that. I like the idea of being like, look, this is a $10 album. This is a $15 album, whatever it is. But I really care about you. And so if you can't pay that, then, pay what you can. And the reason why I like that better than being like, it's free, is that there's just a kind of negative connotation with free. Like some people will think like, oh, well then it's not of value. If it's free, if they're just giving it to everyone for free, then it's probably not great. But if you can do pay what you want, it's like those great tip jars that we talk about and stuff, So I really like that. I really like that feature very specifically. So anyway, and then, you can obviously go through and, let me see. So obviously you've got all the product details here. You've got the fulfillment, so you can set your shipping charges, and, there's additional shipping options for your bump if you need it. And then after purchase, you can, select what happens there. You can design the cart. Let me launch the editor for this. So like, I just love how clean it is. It looks very similar to a Shopify store or any other kind of cart, right? Just really clean, really simple. It's really mobile friendly, which is what I really dig. And it's just super clean. It's not muddled with stuff. It loads really fast. I've also, checked in on that. So I dig it, guys. I dig it. And then like you can set the success page. So yeah. And then, the other cool thing is that you can set different pixels or different property IDs, or even like other custom tracking codes. So if you have the Snapchat pixel or the ManyChat pixel, or, all these other things, you can add those in there too. And you can change it per product. So like with some people, their property IDs in YouTube, like YouTube will be one and their site will be one and whatever. There'll all be like these subsidiary properties of their website, Google Analytics, which is really a good way to segment out source traffic. And you could, change it per product if you wanted to. So anyway, I'm digging it. However, and then I have that linked up to ActiveCampaign, so that, it communicates back to the automator that I'm currently testing for the Gilded experience specifically. So I love it. I bought a lifetime purchase, or a lifetime license for it for like, it's $4.95 and then it's like $6.90 if you get the pro features added to it or whatever. But it's going to I am reading the future, And my crystal ball tells me that this is going to become like ClickFunnels. Similar in function, except even cleaner, and similar in cost. So I just grabbed it. It's like 6 months of ClickFunnels. So yeah, that's the deal there. Erica says, if I knew how to code, I'd use Squarespace. Girl, you don't need to know how to code. What are you talking about? I'm serious. It's so not. You do not have to code to use Squarespace. That's what's so great about it. I mean, you can definitely get in the weeds in developer mode if you want to do that stuff. But I would dare say that Squarespace, it's a little bit weird moving the blocks around. Like, you have to get used to that. And you may not even realize how many options you have just because it's not necessarily obvious. And there's no like tutorial that Squarespace is like, look, you can put, a picture inside of this text and have it wrap, or you can put it straight to the left of it or whatever. Right. But I would bet my hat, I have one somewhere, I would bet a lot of money that it's so much easier to build in Squarespace than in a WordPress site. And you don't have plugin conflicts. Not that our site ever experiences those. You don't have plugins like slowing down your site constantly because they're, firing off so much CPU or talking to each other or whatever. I got opinions. I have opinions about this. Anyway, Squarespace, you do not have to learn how to code. Not at all. Squarespace is drag and drop. It's not as drag and drop. Like Wix is drag and drop in a way that is like literally you can put anything anywhere. Which, I mean, that's kind of cool. And Squarespace is not like that. But you do not need to code to use Squarespace. So yeah, that just to speak to that. You said better than WooCommerce. How do you integrate shipping? You integrate shipping in here. I'll share my screen again. So yeah, you integrate shipping into when you get into pricing. No, fulfillment. Fulfillment, and then you can do, you can set, if you want to do like first class or priority mail, you can do that. Just US based. And so essentially like this is for US. You can set certain countries anywhere except blah, blah, blah. Even if you want to set up a printful, if you've got some on-demand products, you could do that. Right. So, yeah, that's basically how you set that up. So, and keep in mind, this is not meant to be a store. This is not a perusing experience. This is a cart. So the idea is that you can set the shipping at a fixed rate because you know what product they're buying, right? It's not like a store where you need it to like adjust for the cumulative weight or whatever. This is, flat rate shipping settings essentially. So I hope that helps. Is it better than WooCommerce? I think it's just subject to opinion. I don't like WordPress sites. I don't like business with WordPress. So anything that is specifically a WordPress tool, to be totally honest, like I don't have enough experience with it to say anything hardline about it. I'm sure the thing is WooCommerce is used very widely. And so the development dollars that have put into it are robust. And, that's cool. There's also, though, a lot of things you have to pay for to unlock all of its potential. And I would rather have something that works out the gate in a really simple way, that I don't have to pay more for to get, features that really should be basic. Jack has been doing some testing at the agency level. Jack and Jesse both have been testing at the agency level with WooFunnels. Guys, the way that everything is named, you can go from Spotify to Shopify to Shopee. Like, I mean, you could just like work your way around. Okay, Printify, Printful. You can just work your way all around these like words that people name online things now. I don't know why that's a thing, but WooFunnels is from what I've gathered. Let's Google it together, shall we? And then I'm less of an idiot because we're reading it off the same page together. So WooFunnels is a plugin for WooCommerce. It's one of those things. Every time I see a plugin for a tool, I'm like, why is the original tool not good enough to work without a plugin? I mean, I get like some plugins are like super ninja, but like I just hate that it like buying plugins and upgrades, and Shopify is the same way. Where I'm kind of like, guys, why do I have to why isn't this a baked in feature? Like, if I have to pay for something every month, it should be because it's like total flames, and I'm willing to pay for it. So anyway, if you are using WooCommerce, I have heard that this is great. I have no idea what it costs, but you can see that it does this order bump thing, right? It does the same thing as Thrivecart does, and as ClickFunnels does, but not in a broken way. It works well with your affiliate programs, works with, Zapier and whatever other like automators you have set up. All of that stuff is really important. And that stuff is executed better than ClickFunnels does it. $149 a year ain't bad. That's not bad. Okay, so to embed it, you'd have to pay for more. But that is not expensive. I was actually anticipating a much higher price on it than that. For the year? Dude, that's tight. Anybody else use this? Am I talking to myself over here? I'm just having my own little WooFunnels party. So anyway, that's WooFunnels. And from what I've heard, like I said, I don't know anything about it. I try not to touch WordPress with a 10-foot pole unless I'm doing things for the Indepreneur site. But from what I hear from people who do know WordPress and do know WooCommerce, this is pretty tight. So at your own risk. But that's what I've heard. So hopefully that's helpful. Quinn says, does Thrivecart package and deliver for you? No, sir. No. They're just a cart. They just do, basically they take payments and they tell you about your orders. That's all that is. You're going to be hard pressed to find people who package and deliver for you. Full Stack Merch does, which is a branch of Indepreneur. And we love doing that stuff. But I would recommend, unless you're doing over 150 orders or something a month, even if maybe 100, I would say just bite the bullet and do it yourself, man, because there's no reason to pay people for stuff that you could do yourself with very little inconvenience. It's just it's a learning curve, and then once you get it, it's like, oh, bam, 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 bam. So if you are interested in Full Stack Merch, you can message IndieBot, right, through the Indepreneur Facebook page, and IndieBot will tell you all about Full Stack Merch if you want to know. Okay, Eric says, are you using ShipStation? I do. I do use ShipStation, but I use Full Stack Merch. So I don't have to package all my own stuff all the time. All right. Erica says, I've been using Divi to build. Also want to clean up the excess from WordPress, but maybe I'll switch next year after my Divi membership is up. Don't feel pressure for me to switch to Squarespace, by the way. I love Squarespace. I've been on Squarespace since 2009. And if you decide to use Squarespace, I can help you ninja the fuck out of it. But, I think that everything you use, as far as a site's concerned, as long as you know how to navigate it and you can put your freaking pixel on it, it's fine, right? Where it starts to get more complex is where you're you have products and you have carts, and are you retargeting them, and how does it integrate with the other stuff that you're using, right? Does it integrate with your autoresponder, with Zapier, with your, you know what I mean? Other than that, though, a site is just to look at things, and almost any site builder out there is fine. It's just what you're using in your tech stack. If you want one tool that does all the things, you're probably not going to find it, because when things do all the things, they're not good. MailChimp did email really, really well for the last 13 years I've been with them. And then they're like, oh, we're going to do landing pages and this and that and do all these other things. And then like they got those services are crap. Their automator is still great, but they threw all of this development attention into products that were half baked. And now I'm like, I would have rather you were just email, man, you know? So chances are you're not going to find a solution that does all the things. In theory, WordPress makes that a little easier because it's all communicating in the same, little box, right? The WordPress box. But there's 8,000 billion ways. 1,000 billion. That's new currency. There's thousands of billions of ways to configure a tech stack, and none of them is wrong. As long as you know how to make it work, then you good. Erica says, I hate ClickFunnels. Same. Can you talk about Facebook ads and avoiding click farms? I got a ton of fans from Brazil, but I hear I can't advertise there. Bummer. Yeah. It's not that you can't advertise there. I mean, it's really frustrating, guys, because it's, there are like countries that are highly suspect for bot traffic. And those of you who've been with us, if you're OG Indepreneur, you heard this 10,000 times. There are countries that are more highly suspect based on how much they have to pay people for labor to sit there and manage lots of fake profiles or set up 5,000 phones in a room and keep pressing different playlists or songs, right? And if they only have to pay people $1 or $2 an hour, which is what's happening in a lot of these cases, it's much easier to get that kind of, you can make a return on that. You can be like, oh, we'll sell you these likes, and then we're going to have these people who are working for next to nothing manage these bots that are now going to whatever. So that's just how it works. Now, the thing is, there are bots and spam everywhere. The problem is when Facebook optimizes and it's like, I know the solution you need. I can see that your cost is low here, so I'm going to put all your money there, If you go on the Greenlight warmth boosting training, if you're in Indie Pro, I actually have a document in there about my current Greenlight countries, and I am still advertising outside of countries, outside of English-speaking countries. I'm advertising to a lot of other countries as well. I've got my list in there of what I deem white hat or green light colors, my green light countries. And in there, I actually give kind of a tip on how to advertise, and segment out a country so it at least doesn't do damage to your budget. But in any case, you're like teaching your ad account to look for these swarms of farms. And so that's what the deal is with that. So yeah, that's the deal with that. That looks like spam. All right. So, sorry, somebody left a weird comment and, I wanted to deal with that. All right. So, but yeah, so that's the deal with foreign countries. I mean, here's the thing. It's crazy the kinds of conversations that we're having about this stuff. I think really when it boils down to it, you should just be advertising domestically. That's my opinion. And, we started out FanFinder advertising all across the world. And, and that's fun. And it's definitely super fun to be feeling like you're generating fans all over the world and, you're sending out merch to everybody and that's fun. But in reality, it would be so much simpler to just build domestically in the US. And if and when you run out of people in the US, then if you're US based, sorry, I should clarify. If you're US based, just go for the US, unless you are doing big old tours in the UK. I did a 10-day tour in the UK. I'd be a moron not to advertise in the UK, right? But and I know you're like, well, but maybe someday and whatever. Some of that will happen naturally, I really think that more indies need to focus their advertising dollars, I'm putting as much cash as they can into, instead of like spreading out all over these countries, put it in your domestic country. Because if you do sell merch, the shipping is going to be cheaper, and like it just makes your dollar go further in the places that it's probably most likely that you're going to be touring. Instead of just like, I have $1 a day and I'm going to send it to 67 different countries. Like, there's just not a lot you can do with that. So my 2 cents is like, stay domestic in whatever country you are. Stay there until you get that figured out. Even if there's like cheap things over there, there's more beautiful people in Norway. Just focus on where you're at is my personal opinion, because that's how I grew my career. On MySpace, like before anybody could just advertise whoever they wanted, like I focused on Baltimore. The Baltimore scene was where I was based, so I did that. And then I went to Philly and I figured that out. And I went down to DC and I figured that out. And then I was like, all right, maybe I'll get all the way to New York. And I did that, you know? And there is something valuable about that. Just because we can reach the world doesn't mean we necessarily should be. At least not through paid advertising. So that's all I will go on about with that. Would you say Apple Music is bot free? I don't think anything is bot free. I don't think the US is bot free. I don't think anything is bot free. So all you got to do, you're mitigating risk, right? Like, you're not like saving yourself, you know? It's not like, you know, it's like the pandemic, right? You can wear a mask, you can wear gloves, you can whatever. I am getting rid of this person in the comments who is just, you're going in timeout, buddy. Sorry, I just hate when people do that crap. So anyway, yeah. Sorry, what was I saying? Sorry, somebody's like putting stupid messages about North Korea in the live stream. It's very distracting. I'm sure all of us have experienced that sometime during live streaming. Okay, so yeah, nothing's bot free, and you like, just like with the pandemic, you can wear gloves, you can wear a mask, you can like order your groceries instead of going to get them. You can do everything in the world, right? But it's out there, and chances are you're going to come in contact with something at some point. Who knows? You may be asymptomatic. It may not even impact you, you know, or maybe it does a lot. And so really that's where we get so hardline about it at Indepreneur, not about COVID, but about advertising, is that it's just not worth risking it. You know, like, just try to keep your stuff as clean as you can. But no, Apple Music is not bot free. I'm sure it isn't, because people can stream on Apple as much as Spotify. The difference is that Spotify streams are public. So it's a vanity metric, which means people will pay to have their numbers look different. Whereas with Apple, you can't see numbers. So the only person you're lying to is yourself if you buy Apple Music stuff. So it's not necessarily, it's just that bots and click farms go where the money is, right? They want to take in a bunch of money for a service and then pay very low rates to their hourly workers. So that's if you're, you know, if you think about that logic, apply that to when you're critically thinking about any choice in the future, you know, it'll kind of outline a pretty basic understanding of that. Okay, Jeffrey, I'm going to move on because we're talking about a lot of stuff now. Jeffrey says, glad to hear you say that. I almost exclusively run ads in US since after running my first fan donor. Yeah. I mean, you can run international if you want to be a big deal, you know, but, and you know, they'll find you if you're running good stuff. And like, if you see Australia pop up, like Australia are in my top, how many of my top cities? And like, my Spotify ain't huge, guys, because I've never tried on Spotify ever. This is the first time I am. But if I look at my cities, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. If I look at my top cities, 3 of my top cities are in Australia. And then Oslo, Norway, which is fine because those people are some of my favorite people are Norwegian. And then Houston, for whatever reason, you know, but 3 of them are Australians. So you know what? Maybe I should put some money into Australia. And I know I have 800 monthly listeners, right? So it's not like I'm on some bitchin' playlist somewhere that's attracting a lot of bots, or my numbers would be far more inflated than that. But I'm good with those 800 people because they're truly listening. But yeah, so maybe at that point, look at spending dollars elsewhere. But right now, I'm not doing that. I have a shit ton of music out right now, or coming out. So anyway, so yeah, that's kind of the situation as far as like carts. I've come over to Thrive Carts. WooFunnels is really good. But Shopify buy buttons, I am pushing people harder and harder to this because it literally can work on any website where you have, Ajax enabled, which if you don't even know what that is, it's probably on your site. And it's literally, it's just so easy, and it's so inexpensive, and it gets you perfect tracking and automatically integrates with retargeting and a catalog and all that. So, that's my 2 cents. Like, that's my bottom line. My bottom line is like, if you're not sure where to start with commerce, get a buy button for $9 a month. So, so that's just that. All right. So let's move on. So what I have this week is my dang membership. The Sun Collector says, I hear Google ads are immune from bots. No, nothing's immune from bots. Google's good, but they're not perfect, right? So I wouldn't say that. I think that they are, they're better optimized for real people because Google doesn't have a social network. It's actually reading user activity. So Facebook is actually evaluating users and their friends and how they're interacting with each other, and their algorithm is informed largely by that. So when these farms create a lot of fake views or whatever, or a lot of fake profiles, like you can see why that would be populating in the ads, right? Whereas like it's a lot more complex to like simulate browser history that isn't like, oh, we're trying to, but I don't know, it's the same thing, man. Like people pay for traffic for unique users, for like if you want to amp up your metrics for some reason, like they can see your dashboard and you want to show them that you have 1,000 more unique users than you actually do, you can buy that, So, but in theory, right, these IP addresses and these users have less forward-facing data and more behind-the-scenes data, whereas Facebook has a lot of forward-facing data. So they just work differently, but nothing's immune. So, anyway, and I'll tell you, if you do YouTube advertising, you'll absolutely see the exact same countries running away with your video views as you see on Facebook. No different. So, yeah. That's the deal with that. Okay. I'm trying to think. So, this coming week, actually today, like I have no makeup on because after I get off with you guys, I'm doing a bunch of photos, doing a bunch of video. I'm doing both like music video kind of video as well as some performance videos. Like my whole weekend is just stock. Like all I'm doing is content, because I'm so behind on that because I have hired people to do photos and video for years now. And I'm like, oh, people can't see each other. Tight. I need content. Both my Find Your Way videos are visualizers, and I'm like, I want to punch myself in the mouth for it. So, so I'm going to be generating, doing a bunch of content stuff this weekend. And then of course editing it and all of that this coming week. in my nighttime Corrin Campbell blocks post Indepreneur Business Day. So that's a big thing on my plate. So I'm telling you guys so that I'll feel like I have to come and show you what I've done. Funny story. So I had more press interviews this week, and one of them was with this guy, and all I knew was that it was a phone interview. And usually phone interviews are like 20 minutes. And this guy called me and he was like, hey, you know, he's from like this little blog, and he has a podcast and a blog and a few other things. But it's relatively small, and it's near, I think it's in the Indianapolis area. It's in Indiana. And so we're just chatting, and I tend to be pretty forthcoming in interviews. I don't really hide much. So he was asking me about Army stuff, and I told him how terrible that was in a pretty unabashed way. And I talked about, he asked me about some of my mental health stuff, which I shared, and I am pretty open about my mental health situation or, you know, details, because I feel like it can help people, you know, and that's just part of, I'm fine talking about it. I'm not ashamed. I have no shame about anything. So he was asking me like all of this stuff, and I wasn't really doing it in like a press voice kind of way because it was a phone interview. And so then it went on and on. It was like an hour and 15 minutes before we were finally done. And then he was like, great, well, I'll let you know when this is going to go live and whatever, which, you know, journalists say that too. Like they mean like when we post it, it's going to go live. I'm like, okay, great. Well, thanks so much. Like, what a great conversation. It was really, you know, cool to talk to you. And so then I got a follow up, and I'm like, oh, this is a podcast. Oh, I was just on a podcast. And I realized, like, I probably would not have said things the way that I said them, or it was. So I'm going to share it with you guys so we can all laugh. But oh my gosh. Always make sure you know if someone's recording you or if they're just writing it down, because holy crap. I don't even know what it was like. Like, I can't even remember all of the things that I would have been like, don't say it like that. So we shall see, y'all. Unfiltered as much as possible. All right. So last call for questions, because I got to get to these photos and videos, y'all. And this face don't put on itself. You know what I'm saying? I still go to Starbucks. It's the one thing where I'm exposed to anyone from the outside. I go from my house to this isolated office where nobody comes except for me, and then home and back and home. So the only place I stop is Starbucks. And I get here, and I like set down my keys and my coffee and anything else I may have touched in the car. And then I like disinfect everything. I'm now ripping disinfectant wipes into thirds because you can't buy any. So I like wipe everything down, and I spray my keys with Lysol because I happen to have disinfectant spray, but I don't use too much because I don't want to run out. Anybody else having that kind of life? It's all going to be okay, guys. It's just crazy right now. So hopefully this little Saturday thing is giving you something to do. You're also quiet. I see the eyeballs on the stream. I know you're here. What are you doing? All right, anyway. I will for sure share video and stuff with you guys. So you know, the pre-roll and post-roll of this stream is instrumentals of the new remix. A couple of the new remix tracks that aren't out yet. But Jared Newman is blowing me up in Facebook. He said, okay, I'm a starting artist and just started with Indepreneur. I'm still working on content. Already completed the buddy system. Where would you recommend I go from there? I would recommend you go with ones and zeros to make sure that you have your tracking set up, whatever tools you're using. And then I would say green light warmth boosting. A lot of people say fan finder is the first thing. But like, unless you literally have no fans, you need to pour some love on the fans you do have right now. And I don't think indies focus enough on their existing fans. I think there's so much about like more people. They're like Cookie Monster, you know, like more cookie. Like they want more. And it's like, yes, but also the people who have been loving on you and buying your music or supporting you or coming to your shows or whatever for like the last however many years. So I would say go to greenlight warmth boosting, because those people deserve your attention. And if they're starting to go cold, this is an opportunity to bring them back before you start worrying too much about like, let me get all the people, all the new people, you know? I would say greenlight warmth boosting, and then I would say fan finder, because fan finder, greenlight warmth boosting is very complementary to fan finder, but you can do it in front and behind a fan finder to keep people. Greenlight warmth boosting. Jared, I see you. Saint it. Yeah, that's right. Love. So good luck with your vid. You look great. Thanks. Are there more steps in your release strategy? Yes. Expletive, yes. But more will be unveiled next week. That's why we're coming back every week. Did you know? I'm here every week. Usually at 1 p.m. Today it was 2 p.m. Central. But yeah, I'll be here every week. My goal next week is to share with you guys membership site rollout, as well as some of the ways that I strategized how to tier up the membership. I think something that's really difficult is that like people will start a Facebook group for their page and then they're going to try to transfer it to membership, or they have a free membership already, which essentially is like very similar to socials, except you have their contact information. And then they try, when they add a membership, like it's actually downgrading the experience of previous people. Gracie and I were actually working on this for her PD this week. I was like, listen, if you're thinking like, okay, maybe someday I'll get to a membership, right now there's no way anyone would, and I think she does have fans who would pay her, but if she was like, you know, I don't think I could charge anybody right now, I'd be like, okay, well, do a kind of schematic of like what a $25 a month membership would look like for you. And then, you know, all the features of that, and then dial back the coolest thing of that for a $15, and then dial back, you know, and that way when you first offer this free membership, it's still valuable, but those free members never feel like they got downgraded, or your Facebook group doesn't feel like they got downgraded because now you have a membership site. So I'll talk a little bit about that this next week, because I really need to get my membership launched like so bad. I'm so behind. So yes, QP View. There will be many, many more discussions for the next several months every Saturday, and we will talk more about all of the things. Okay. How are you shooting a vid with COVID? My damn self. I'm doing it myself. That's why I'm so intimidated. It's because I've hired people for years to do this stuff for me. And, you know, fortunately, Indepreneur has some decent cameras, because Circa is obviously a crazy camera head now. And so he's definitely supplied some stuff. And I'm just going to set things up and then, you know, take stationary video and then edit it so that it doesn't look stationary anymore. It's very, it's interesting. We're going to see this kind of thing all over the world now, right? But yeah, nobody's coming. I'm doing my own makeup. First time for like a video photo shoot. First time I've done my own makeup for that in like years and years. I know I sound spoiled AF. I'm just saying, like, I got used to hiring professionals who are way better at what they do than I am. And now I have to I have to do it myself. It's a good challenge. We should all embrace the things we have to do ourselves now because of the change in the world. All right. Well, thank you to everybody so much. I am going to get ready to to kick off here, but I really appreciate you coming to hang out. Like I always said, it's so cool to just like share my wins and my fails, and I'm excited for the next, after a couple of weeks have gone by, this is going to start shaking out, and we're going to start be able to talk about like true wins and fails, because right now everything is still in prep mode. Like, is this going to work? Did it, what is the impact of this going to be? But over the next month or two is going to be when things like flop miserably or work really well. And that's going to be, I think, the fun part, because I really want to prove to you guys that I have no shame, and I will absolutely share with you the things that 100% flop, because it might keep you from flopping. So it sounded gross for some reason. Anyway, happy Saturday, y'all. I am going to miss you between now and next week, but I think we'll be okay. So I hope to see you next week, not the same time, 1 p.m. Central. Let's talk. And if you have release strategies that you are running or you are thinking of running, bring those. This isn't just show and tell. This is also like, I want to help you with your stuff if I have any insight. So bring that next week. And that's it. Have a great weekend, y'all. See you later.